Hi, my name is Andy Mallet, and this is Glimmer DSL for SWT tutorial number 19. So today we're going to go through a very short tutorial about cursors and how to customize mouse cursors in applications. So to get started, let's launch Hello Cursor. So as you can see, it starts with the arrow cursor, which is the default mouse cursor that you see in the application or in any application. I can change the cursor by selecting different options, like cross gives me a cross, size E means size east, like if you're resizing a window from the the right side of the window. Size north, size west, size south. I can do a hand. I can do an I-beam, which is kind of like a keyboard cursor. And I can do no, which is kind of like when you're disabling the cursor. So at the top it says, please select a cursor style and see it change the mouse cursor varies per platform. So not all platforms support all cursors. Some of the cursors don't work on the Mac. So if I were to select help, it just gives me a cross again because it's not supported. However, some of those cursors actually do work on Windows or Linux instead. In any case, let's get into the code. So I'm gonna close this sample and get started by looking at the code. So we have a Hello Cursor class. It includes a custom shell to represent that we were building a custom window. And then in the body of the application, we have a shell, meaning a window. It has its own cursor, which is data bound unidirectionally to the selected cursor attribute on self. But then we have a label. The label has its own cursor of no, meaning whenever I hover over the label, the cursor is always disabled, regardless of what value is set on the shell. Meaning, if I were to launch the app and say I have a cross here, but then if I hover over the label, it's disabled. If I come back here, it's a cross. And then we have a radio group filled in with radio buttons, which were populated because of this data binding declaration over here. So the selection of the radio group is data bound bidirectionally to the selected cursor attribute on self. But also by convention, when you data bind it to selected cursor, it'll look for a selected cursor options method on the model that you bound it to, or the object. In this case, the object is the view, because this is just a very small sample, so the attribute is on the view directly. In bigger applications, obviously, you would have a model instead, or a presenter. In any case, this is just pulling all the available cursor options on the SWT proxy API, which is part of the Glimmer SWT API. And that's what gave us all the available options, which are simply symbols. Here, before we started the app, we set it to the arrow symbol, which is the default cursor. But then when we started changing options by selecting radio buttons, it changed the mouse cursor to different values. If you were to look into the SWT Javadoc for cursor, it gives you additional options for building your own custom cursors from images if you want. But otherwise, this is the default way of setting cursors on SWT applications. So as you saw, we have a bidirectional data binding here where we selected the cursor through the radio button. And then here, it unidirectionally automatically, on change of selected cursor, updated the cursor of the shell, which is the window. Of course, in your own applications, you might not want to give people the option to select the cursor. You might want to change it programmatically yourself directly. But I mean, this gives you the general idea of how to do that. In order to learn more about Glimmer DSL for SWT, check out the GitHub repository.